For about a week now, Kostya had been sitting at home with a severe cold. It's hard to say exactly where he caught this cold, but in our age of dangerous viruses, it was quite easy to do it. As a sophomore student, Kostya has already forgotten the time when he had such a strong runny nose and cough, as in childhood. But now, it was like some kind of madness. His nose was dripping like a leaky water tap, and in his chest, as if some evil creature lived, which was not fed with bread, but let him notify everyone of his presence with a terrible wheeze. At first, there was little use from medicines, and Kostya understood perfectly well that such diseases also need time. You can drink even a bucket of medicines, but you still lie in bed for 10 days. Out of boredom, the guy stuck in his laptop for days, desperately trying not to wash it with snot during another sneeze. And if during the day, Kostya could have fun from the bottom of his heart on social networks, then with the onset of night, the situation changed for the worse. Most of his friends and interlocutors were already going to bed, and only he, like a vampire infected with a cold, stayed on the internet until late at night. At such a time, communication was reduced to a minimum, and it seemed to Kostya that it would be better for him to sleep than to do such nonsense. But from lying in bed, his sides were already hurting, and he still could not change the situation for the better. And so, one day, while researching some site for anonymous communication, Kostya came across one very interesting link. The description to it said that communication takes place with a living person, and not with an army of bots that have a stock of answers for all occasions. The site had some kind of difficult-to-pronounce name, which for himself, Kostya by default shortened to the word necrophobe. Hopefully clicking on the link, the guy saw that this is quite a good site with the ability to communicate via video for full immersion in communication. Well, I'm finally going to have a chat with a real person, and not with an artificial mind, Kostya whispered with a smile and, as if to confirm his words, sneezed loudly. Despite the rather user-friendly interface, there was practically no one on the site at that time. Only under one pseudonym with an extremely unusual female nickname Aneri shone the cherished light online. Judging by the questionnaire data, the girl was 21 years old. Look at you. Who is she? What kind of name is so interesting? Maybe Eastern? Apparently, the same midnight girl as me, Kostya thought and wrote a single word, hello. There was practically no reaction to the message for about a minute, and then the guy saw that the interlocutor began typing something in response. Hello. How are you? The notification light lit up. Kostya grimaced with displeasure. The answer painfully reminded him of the standard phrase of most bots set up by nerds, IT specialists to communicate with people like him. But then, the interlocutor took the initiative first and asked a very unusual question. To be precise, it sounded like this: did you have any close friends who are no longer alive? From surprise, Kostya shuddered. What a question in the middle of the night. Definitely, this girl writes to him online. Damn, well, how can I tell her that in the first year I met with Urka? She's not dead, is she? At least, there is no official confirmation of this. Although, you can't call her alive either. She has been missing for 8 months now. Although relatives and the police are looking, but there is zero sense, Kostya thought to himself. Then, he gathered his thoughts and wrote the phrase, yes, there were, to the interlocutor. The girl on the other side of the screen immediately began typing. One, or several, Aneri asked almost immediately. No, what kind of questions? Why should I have only corpses as friends? Kostya muttered irritably and immediately wrote, one, or rather, one, friend. The interlocutor on the other side of the screen thought for a moment, then quickly scribbled an answer. And I have several. Kostya turned pale. Of course, everything happens in life, but has this girl already seen so many deaths in such a short time? Although, life is a complicated thing and, quite possibly, an accident could have taken place. Having calmed down, Kostya answered briefly, I understand. The interlocutor almost immediately gave him a new answer, do you miss those you lost? Kostya winced again. He didn't want to talk about it in the middle of the night. Anyway, what's the point of talking about the dead when you need to think about the living? I'm already sick of this mysterious Aneri. Kostya muttered and, writing a single word, no, slammed the laptop shut. This communication, frankly speaking, did not like Kostya. Although, the element of intrigue was still present. Unusual name. Non-standard questions. There was definitely something about this girl. Just what exactly, Kostya has not yet understood. I wonder what she looks like. Cute, or a horror story? Although, with such a name, she should be on top. Maybe even a foreigner. Kostya lay in bed for a while, then turned on the laptop again and, to his surprise, saw that Anari was still online. The guy hesitated for a second or two, then wrote, "And let's have a video chat." The message flew away immediately, but the matter was delayed with the answer. Either Anari didn't notice his SMS, or she was already asleep, and as it usually happens, she forgot to turn off her phone or laptop. But Kostya did not get an answer. The guy pouted resentfully and resolutely slammed the laptop shut. That's it, it's good to suffer nonsense. It's already past 1 o'clock in the morning, Kostya thought, going to bed. But as soon as he tried to fall asleep, an invisible beast began to torment his chest, trying to get out at any cost. And the name of this beast was flu, complicated by bronchitis. Finally, after about half an hour of rolling from side to side, Kostya managed to fall asleep. Usually, he didn't dream and slept quite peacefully. But tonight was the exception that made him experience extremely unpleasant moments. At first, the dreams were quite innocent and did not carry any negativity. Being under the rule of Morpheus, Kostya walked along a forest belt, on both sides of which grew rare shrubs and small trees. As luck would have it, there was inclement weather, which aggravated the already poor visibility of sleep. Gusts of wind ruffled the skirts of his jacket, making him shiver from the cold and look for shelter with his eyes. Suddenly, right under his feet, Kostya saw a longitudinal hole dug by the type of grave. Where she came from here, the guy, of course, did not know. The grave already gave off a thick and nauseating smell of decomposition. Cautiously looking inside, Kostya barely restrained the urge to vomit. At the bottom of it, huge corpse worms were swarming, which, at the sight of a person, raised their blunt, nosed muzzles up questioningly. Kostya looked more closely and saw that the cursed arthropods were crawling over the remains of someone's body gnawed by them. Whitish bones with particles of putrid flesh, the remains of half-rotted clothes and a skull grinning in a posthumous grin made Kostya shudder and wake up from the sound of his own scream. Sweating and wheezing, the guy was rushing around the bed like a man possessed. What he saw shocked Kostya so much that it took him about half an hour to come to his senses and realize that it was all just an ordinary nightmare. The dawn that was emerging outside the window gave hope that such a thing would not happen again and the disease, along with the terrible dreams, would go away by itself. After making coffee for himself, Kostya stuck to the laptop screen again and went to the necrophobe website. To his great regret, there was no girl named Anari among the online users. But the worst thing was that the question about the video conversation also remained unanswered. Well, that's it. Scared the girl away. Well, the name is very unusual. I am sure that it is connected with the countries of the East in any way, Kostya drawled sadly. During the day, the guy's well-being improved noticeably and it became clear to him that he would soon be on the mend. Almost every hour Kostya went to the site and checked if his night girlfriend named Anari was there. But no matter how much he looked at the laptop screen, the situation did not change. Kostya tried to write to someone else, but he didn't get an answer either. Damn, are they all charmed here, or what? Can they communicate only at night? Slamming his fist on the table, the guy exclaimed. The blow turned out to be quite loud, which made his mother immediately look into his room. Son, what are you doing? Are you sick? Should I call a doctor? Anna Petrovna asked. No, Mom, what doctor? I'm much better now, Kostya replied irritably. Anna Petrovna looked doubtfully at her son and asked. Is there any news about IRA? It seems 8 months have already passed. Surely they had to find something at least? Kostya turned pale and darted an anxious glance in the direction of his mother. Talking about his missing girlfriend was like a knife to his heart. It is difficult to say whether there was love between him and IRA, but he clearly did not want to talk about this topic. Even with my mother. The disappearance of IRA Kranova was a real shock for everyone. On a warm April day, the girl went out of town to a friend, but for some reason she never got to her. According to the norms established by law, a large-scale search for the missing began only after 3 days, when, according to friends, It was already too late. Trying to find their daughter, Ira's parents turned to everyone possible, fortune tellers, and outright charlatans who decided to cash in on someone else's grief. Yes, but everything turned out to be to no avail. The girl was gone. Someone said that Ira ran away with some visiting biker, and someone said that the girl decided to change her life and move to the capital. Well, Kostya didn't even know what to think. It is unlikely that Ira would have gone nowhere without telling him a word about her plans. The topic voiced by the mother touched the most painful strings in the guy's soul, which caused him to sink into depression for half a day, from where he periodically emerged to cough and rid the lungs of the sputum accumulated in them. With the onset of the evening, Kostya's mood noticeably improved. Every now and then, looking at the site, the guy was waiting for his mysterious stranger named Aneri. But time passed, and the girl was still not there. 10 p.m. has passed. Then 11. And that's where the guy's patience was rewarded, and Aneri appeared on the site at 11:45. Here. Finally, Kostya breathed out with relief. The guy was ready to forgive the invisible interlocutor anything. Even her inarticulate conversations about the dead and the loss of loved ones. Kostya himself could not understand why exactly he was so attracted to this girl, who actually did nothing special for this. Bones's fingers immediately tapped on the keys, typing the word, hello. Then, after thinking for a while, he added, sorry about the video call question. I pressed enter and the message flew away with lightning speed to the one to whom it was actually intended. Aneri received a text message and immediately began typing a reply. Well, Norm, so, she wasn't offended, Kostya thought with a smile. And a second later, he was already reading the answer of the mysterious interlocutor, hello. Nothing wrong. There is nothing terrible in life at all. After reading the SMS, Kostya stuck out his lower lip. The guy was a little annoyed that the topics of the interlocutor, frankly speaking, were exotic and not entirely pleasant. Despite all the skepticism, Kostya still wrote an answer, yes, of course. You're right. Aneri thought for a moment, and then began typing a reply SMS. At the same time, Kostya could not help but note that today the correspondence is much more lively than yesterday. The envelope with the received message flashed invitingly and the guy clicked the mouse with force. But what Kostya saw in the text message made his heart beat violently from the delight and euphoria that seized him. A mysterious stranger wrote what the guy wanted to read yesterday, let's talk via video link. Thoughts and possible conversation scenarios immediately started spinning in Kostya's head. Or maybe go shave and take a shower. Although, why? You can install the camera in such a way that I won't be seen properly. Kostya fussed. In the guy's understanding, it was almost the first date that was supposed to change his personal life for the better. Finally, gathering his courage, he squared his shoulders and sat down in front of his laptop. By clicking on the tiny image of the camera, which meant a video link, Kostya prepared for a conversation. The monitor flashed invitingly, after which an image slowly appeared on the screen. Since its quality left much to be desired, Kostya mentally scolded the interlocutor for her, such a useless computer hardware. Finally, when the guy's eyes got used to the semi-darkness of the screen, Kostya saw the appearance of his interlocutor. The girl was black-haired and her long bangs covered her face half. According to the outline of her shoulders, Aneri was slender and had a pretty figure. Kostya's heart began to beat faster when the interlocutor touched her bangs with her hand, and then with a sharp movement she threw it back. The guy instinctively clung to the screen, but what he saw then shocked him to the guts and made him close his eyes in horror. A large shudder ran through Bones's body, stopping at his teeth, which began to chatter so hard that crumbs of enamel immediately appeared on his tongue. To say that the sight was creepy was to say nothing. Numb with sticky, animal fear, Kostya stared at what could at any moment cross the thin edge of the screen and crawl out.